I'll be all confused. Billy's for Tuesday. Okay, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. I believe Cheryl told me at the last meeting that she would not be here, that she'd be in Michigan. She was going to try to make it, but wasn't sure, so we have a motion to excuse.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, and then if I can have a motion to add John Henry to the new business on the agenda, which is not on there. Second. Right. Okay. And then we can look over the minutes from our June 10th meeting and June 18th meeting. And if there's any questions.
I move to approve.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. On to the financial report, which I don't think we have one.
We won't have one for this month. The finance officer is closing out the books for this in the new year, and plus the reports aren't due to be the 15th, so we've got a little bit of leeway, but there won't be a report till next month.
So basically on the subcommittee reports, we don't have
Yeah,
anything.
I don't have anything.
So we're just going to move on to the old business, or John? Oh, excuse me, John, you're first.
If you don't mind,
Okay.
I'll be really brief. I've just noticed that there's been a couple instances in the media where the TDA and possibly TDC too, but there's been some criticism that funds are being expended to private entities and that this is not right and this shouldn't happen. And I just wanted to tell the board and just to reiterate for you, I think you all know this already, but that's simply not the law. You can, in fact, distribute TDA collected funds to private entities that are promoting events that enhance tourism, as long as you can find, you need to be able to find a net public benefit, is what the legal standard is, meaning that it would not be proper to give money just to somebody for their personal use. That's not a public purpose. You do have to identify a public purpose, which we do that in part by asking for them to get under contract. Their application forms require them to identify how is this going to increase tourism for the town of Franklin. You're doing all the right things and asking all the right questions. The parties that receive those funds to promote those events can be private entities and for-profit entities. I just wanted, and does anybody have any questions about that? I just wanted to clear it up in case any of you weren't clear or had seen those criticisms and wondered.
Thank you.
As long as it's used for marketing.
Yeah, they have to fit within the purposes that you're allowed to distribute funds to begin with in the session.
Right. Yeah, which is ultimately what that sounds like. Right.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to move on to the old business. Sponsorship for the opportunity for the Appalachian Trail Plan.
Real quickly, I did find out the dates for that. I noticed it's not in the agenda packet, but it's July 21st through July 25th, if I'm not mistaken.
And these are items, the old business that has been on the agendas for the past 4 or 5 meetings. So we need to make a decision.
Yeah. I mean, we sponsor an event here that's tied with them, but I've been to the previous one 2 years ago in Virginia. That was held at a school similar to this situation. It was bus trips to town, that was about it. I did go on their website, and everything seems to be centered around the Silva area. From Cullowhee, there was nothing on the schedule when I looked 2 weeks ago going to Franklin. So I would be kind of questioning in my own mind whether or not it'd be worth sponsoring when there's nothing coming back to the town. And that's my problem with it is Bill had indicated that there would be a bus trip Bill Van Horn had indicated there would be a tour of Franklin. But it's not offered, and it's something that you would sign up for. And those are generally extra cost items on the event, so you have to sign up in advance for them. So at this point, like I say, 2 weeks ago, there was nothing listed for Frank. I don't think there was anything in making.
I see, I guess I did overlook it last time, the not-for-profit table. There's an opportunity there. I know we have an AT community committee. I don't know what their stance is on that, or if someone from that committee could represent Franklin at the event, you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to allocating funds for it.
Yeah.
Just one complimentary exhibit table.
Yeah.
That's,
So, the TDA really doesn't have anything to exhibit, so,
Yeah.
that's what I was saying, just speaking on Franklin in general. Just, I know that we have an AT community
Yeah.
committee. And that's something that could be,
I don't.
could reach out to them and ask if they were
Since-
planning on it.
Yeah, since the town has basically taken over, I don't know that, at least since April of last year, I don't think the committee has met. Have they met?
I think they have.
Okay, then I'm apparently been excluded from that, so. Because I know I was on it as a planner, so since I left the town. I
Gotcha.
hadn't been given any notice or anything of those meetings, so I don't know about them.
So we need to make a decision on that. I need a motion of whether to approve.
Make a motion with Bill sponsor this event.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay, moving on to the funding request for the Ruby Bash Rally.
That's also included in one packet. Do we have any questions?
Well, the entire event's gonna be at the campground? The entire event's gonna be at the campground?
That is correct, yes.
We sponsored this last year.
No, it's never been sponsored.
So what are they, 7,500 is the request for us? 7,500?
Yes.
That's correct.
Yeah, it is 75.
Why is
Wow.
the number for actual cash from your organization only a third of what it was last year?
I'm sorry,
On
Josh,
your-
say that again.
On your budget,
Mm-hmm.
it says your organization was putting in $7,300 last year, and it's only $2,500 this year.
That's kind of where I was confused as far as where to, 2,500 is what we have remaining in the account left over from just things from last year that we collected just to help to go toward this year's rally. Is based, and maybe I filled that out incorrectly, I'm not positive.
So you have $2,500 right now to work with?
We have, we have it's about $2,200, $2,300 to work with right now. We've had a few expenses to go toward this year's event so far, but we're looking, has increased for this year. We've got some other sources of advertising that we're looking at to do to reach further out, Florida, Georgia, even in Alabama is kind of what we're looking at to bring, so our actual advertising amount of money requested on that has gone up a little bit, but we're flexible, we can make cuts, we can do whatever it is that we need to do to make it work.
I do have a question. Didn't we talk about the amount? I'm not sure, just correct me if I'm wrong there. I thought we brought up the subject of not paying for the entire budgeted amount for organizations. Now, this isn't the entire, but I mean, it is a good portion. Did we talk about that or not?
Make them self-sufficient, but we didn't find anything.
But we didn't, okay, okay.
This is just what they're asking.
How many people did you have
Okay.
attend last year?
Approximately 300, 350. A lot of them were campers that actually stayed at the campground. I think, because we filled the campground up, I know that. But the actual heads, I'm not sure. But as far as gate and stuff like that, we could go on those numbers, and it was somewhere around 330, 338 some. So I had said before around 300, 350 for the entire weekend.
And that was a 2 or 3 day event too.
That was a 2-day event.
And this is at Rose Creek Campground?
Yeah. It's not a real big place, so we gotta kinda, make sure everything's right there. But it accommodated everybody well, safely and all that stuff, so.
Do you all have any other sources for funds for the event?
We have a couple sponsors, that, as a matter of fact, we just spoke to last week about doing some sponsorships, donating items and stuff like that for us to have a raffle, to do stuff like that, to try to generate some monies. Other than that, not really.
Well, I mean, I think this is a great event. My concern is we're spending 7.5% of our budget for the year on an event that's gonna bring in only 300 people.
Right.
I mean, I think it's a great event, but to spend that much of our budget on to bring 300 people to town is, and they're also not staying in hotels, which is our main goal, is to put people in hotel rooms.
Do the campgrounds bring kind of occupancy? I guess it's outside of town.
And it's not, if they do, it would be just current.
I'd
See,
be
that's
willing
what we're
to-
looking for too. We're looking to be able to advertise further out, get with like Microtel, get with some of our locals, get them on the website. That's what we're looking to do to try to bring people to stay in the motels, even like the lodge and, the bed and breakfast and stuff like that, especially the bed and breakfast that's closer, to the event. That's what we're looking, and that's why our advertising is just going crazy, because we're getting all these ideas on advertising, but it's like we're kind of stuck, and that's why we like to work with like Microtel and stuff like that.
How many people will Rose Creek hold? I mean, have you looked at maybe doing an event elsewhere? Just
We
so you
have,
can accommodate
and we're
more people?
hoping that the event will get large enough to where we can move to a different location. Where that will be, we don't really know yet. We do have some ideas, but we have to, through the health department, provide bathroom. We have to provide that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where we're stuck as far as trying to find a larger, event for camping.
Any other questions? No, I'd be willing to, I know they came before us last year. So I wouldn't mind maybe funding, a smaller amount. I don't think we need to be funding the entire, that's what they're requesting, but.
Have you approached the TDC? Because this seems more of a
I
county.
I went and talked to Linda Harbuck, I believe it was last year,
Mhm.
and they didn't have any monies or anything at the time. That's what she had shared with me. So.
What about for this upcoming year?
We haven't even really, she was pushing us more toward you guys, which I was kind of like
Yeah.
pushing more toward them, because
Because
they're
it's a county
countywide.
now. It's
You guys are
countywide.
city limit wide,
Right.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that still could be an option, whether our time frame is, it's gonna afford itself, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like what you guys are doing, and especially the fact that you give back Toys for Tots as part of the,
Well, Toys for Tots was for last year.
right? Is it not,
We have another event planned for October the 19th, which it's gonna be called the Cruising for Kids. And it's a poker run that we're gonna do. It's gonna be held at Rose Creek Campground. And we're gonna kind of do the same thing, except it's only gonna be a one-day event from 11 to 7. You know, and that's when we're gonna be doing the toys and stuff like that. As far as the actual rally itself, this year, we have a couple charity organizations that we would like to donate to and have intentions on doing that if profits are there for us to do that.
And, you know, I share the same concerns as some of the folks that have already expressed them on the board. You know, it's a large chunk of change to bring in few people
Right.
that are potentially filling a campground as opposed
Exactly.
to hotels and motels.
Exactly. That's why we're thinking of having a shuttle service this year too. Just so people won't have to drive, you know, if they don't want to, their motorcycles and stuff like that, if they choose to stay in a motel.
My recommendation would be to approach the county and see about funding before we decide on funding. I mean, with it being a county,
The TDC.
TDC. Is it their, I don't know if it's all your.
Yeah, they're,
I don't know if it's their time.
well, the next TDC meeting would be, it's the third Thursday.
And this is in August.
Yeah,
That's
It's
August
coming
30th.
up, yeah.
yeah, this is back
Right.
before the,
They're probably
They kind of meet in a couple weeks. or
Yeah,
third
they,
Thursday
I
of
don't know why
July
they
or
couldn't
something.
get on the July.
And then we would meet again.
And that's just a
August 10th.
recommendation, so we're not funding
Yeah,
everything.
Yes, I don't know, I just kind of feel like this is more of a county geared towards it.
yeah, because
If we can give an answer, I mean, I hate to keep passing the buck
Yeah.
back and forth, you know. I know we can't answer for TDC, certainly.
Regardless if they got any funding from the TDCs or an amount that
That's up to the board to decide. If they
we
want
want
to.
to do.
We'll make a motion. Their total sources of cash is 10,000. Is that right for, is what you're saying, your total? And that's including 7,500.
Correct, correct.
What if we, they've got time to meet with the TDA, what if we consider matching what, or meet with the TDC, what if we consider matching what the TDC does?
I would maybe be in favor of that up to a certain,
Well, I mean,
Well, at this point in the ballgame, we're kind of limited on what you can spend on marketing anyways. It's August 30th.
Yeah, see, and that's the thing, at this time, we're kind of like getting close to.
You all were able to raise nearly $10,000 last year for the event?
No, no.
that's what the
This-
financial statement says.
Well, basically, pretty much that was our total expenses. We ended up raising and donating, it's like $4,200.
You know what the total event cost to put on last year?
Total event last year was $7,200. It's been a while since I've.
7,300?
So, yeah.
It says your organization says 7,300, is that what it
That's
costs?
approximately what it was costing the last year. That was with everything. That was all of our advertising, our entertainment, the property,
No.
insurance, and everything.
It says 8650.
$86.50, I'm sorry. That's what it was.
So you were able to totally fund that last year?
Yes, we.
So why are you falling $7,500 short this year?
Well, because we only ended up with about $2,500 left, and we just felt that if we wanted to be able to continue this event, to try to get an outsource of advertising and marketing, we came up with a number, checked with our people that we were going to advertise with to see what it was going to cost us to get the word out there, to get the tourists into Franklin.
In the past, were you been able to come up with the funds to?
It didn't cost near as much in the past because we haven't grown, we've grown, but we haven't had the expense because of the advertising. We didn't do near as much advertising as we have in the past, as we have like last year. Last year was our biggest.
Well, my concern is you're spending overall, you're spending $1,300 more, and you're asking for a lot more than that. And not all of that is even advertising related.
And well, and it's just, the numbers that we came up with for you guys was just a projected as far as how much it was gonna cost us to, like I said before, advertising, to market it, to get it out there. We contacted places to find out how much it was gonna cost us to do this, and that's the majority. That's the majority of the cost to doing an event like this, because we wanna bring people from out of town. We have all kinds of people in Franklin that's gonna participate, but how's that gonna help you guys? It's the outsourced marketing and advertising is what's costing us money.
Where's your advertising going?
We're gonna do Born to Ride magazine, Full Throttle magazine. We've got, of course, our posters, you know, that we do every year and hand deliver to businesses and sponsors and just participants. We have, Born to Ride magazine and Full Throttle magazine, which Full Throttle magazine covers 4 states. Born to Ride magazine only covers 2 states, Georgia and Florida.
And you've already been advertising so far?
Not, they're going in for the July magazines. So we will be advertising for those months.
I think that we've done well so far. We've tried to bring the focus back in on events that are held within inside the city limits, strictly because, I mean, that's where our funding is coming from. So I'll make the motion to deny this request.
Do I have a second?
I'll make a motion then. Oh, was it seconded? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
What was the vote?
That we deny.
I mean, did it pass?
Yeah,
Oh, okay, I wasn't sure what the vote was.
we had one opposed.
I was opposed. Fine. I was the only one.
And
Was there
I think
one?
you had a couple others that didn't vote, and you can't do that. You're gonna have to vote one way or the other. And
So do it again?
Roll call.
I'm not sure you got a proper second procedure. I'm sorry, Candy, I don't think under any rules of procedure, a chair can second, you know.
Well, what's your thoughts on this, John? Based on where we've been and where we're going
I
with
mean,
events?
if you want my opinion on what you ought to do with it, it sounds, and I won't substitute my opinion for yours, but it sounds to me like there are certainly enough concerns on the board not to fund it at what's been requested. I think you got a clear consensus on that. I also don't think, you know, like Matt said, I think that this has been around so long since back when we were first depleting the funds, that some answers gotta be arrived at, so.
Well, I think that things that we have to look at too is the organization has money left over from their event. I know that certain festivals do not, and that's why they continue to ask for money, which we tell them to be self-sufficient. It is July, of course, we have tabled for month after month after month, but you have 1 month to advertise. And if our money is supposed to be going towards advertising dollars, how much advertising are you going to be able to do within a month? And I'm not a marketing person, I know that even our billboards take over a month to have published and put in. I mean, if you're gonna bring people in, throw them in. And I do think it's a great thing. I think the bike rallies are here. I mean, we get them at the motel all the time. But, you know, each event needs to know that we're not just the only ones handing out money. There's other places here, and maybe the sources, we can't be the only ones saying, okay, we're gonna give everything out, we're gonna support every festival, everything. I mean, there's other groups. There's TDA, TDC.
And let me be clear, I don't think there's anything wrong with the motion, I just don't think a chair should
Well, we
second.
can.
So I think you've got a pending motion.
All right, well, based on the fact that this is 7.5% of our budget for a whole year, based on the fact that it's not in the town limits, based on the fact that it doesn't bring people to the motels, I will second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thanks, John. Moving on to the funding request for the hyper transportation and basically I think that's gone away. I don't know.
I hadn't, let's look at it.
I knew that was another
This-
from Ron Haven.
This budget worksheet, in my opinion, is unacceptable. Um,
That's something and I'm trying to remember, but I believe you passed something about not funding operating expenses.
We did.
And this is a business operating expense.
I believe that was how she.
I mean, he's got the bus and the equipment in the bus, and the TDA funded that to the tune of about $8,600. So at this point, the maintenance, I think that's what we're talking about.
The TDA funded the bus.
Yeah, the TDA
Purchase
funded the paving and the
The
equipment.
print
in
for
it.
tourism.
It was about
Transportation.
if I remember right, it was about $8,600, and it was about 2 years ago.
2 years ago?
But no, they didn't purchase the
How-
bus.
We didn't buy the
That
bus.
is- no, we didn't buy
It
the
was said
bus.
that we bought the bus, we did not buy the bus.
But there was
How-
training
How-
involved, there was signs on the bus, and it says
Supposed to advertise all the
tourism
hotels,
on it.
and they were supposed to keep brochures, whether that's been done
Well,
or
it-
not. The bus, I've seen the print on the bus.
He's got a video that he runs for the hikers coming into town, because the majority of people are not from here, so they don't, unless they've hiked the trail prior, they don't know about Franklin, so he runs the video.
And for me, I know that I have a lot of hikers too that come to the hotel. I think that should be the hotels that you should approach, that if they want to offer another amenity to pay for shuttling service, or have the hikers pay for their shuttling service if they.
I'd like to know
remote
how many are shuttled in
Lots.
from the bus, from this, I know there is a lot, yeah, but it's a lot. I'd just like to know that.
But, I mean, that should not be something that the TDA funds, that's just my recommendation. I think if a hotel wants to participate and offer that amenity as a shuttle service, then they need to be the ones funding to help keep their shuttle service going.
It's just too much gray area.
He indicates he spent about $60,000 last year, but I don't know if that includes insurance or.
Tags, insurance, 5,000 yearly is what he says. Gas is 10,000.
I didn't read through the whole thing.
And then it's on the next page, I think, that you're on. See on the bottom there?
But several of those are the kind of operating expenses. in that.
Yeah, and he-
It's Article 2.2 with the
Uses of funds.
rules.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's where I'm looking at it.
I mean, so are we gonna pay Macon Transit to redo their buses too? I mean, they're picking them up and dropping them off just as well.
I seen you talking.
I don't know.
Well, I see a lot of hitchhikers, but I do see them, I do see him
It's
running.
pretty good. I mean, not to say that we
Well,
should give
I'm-
$8,000.
But he's also
it is used.
going to,
His,
he's also going to his other hotels, which are not
Oh, I see.
even in this county, so.
Yeah, I mean.
He's got 3 here, but,
He's been doing this a while.
yeah.
He's making money somehow, or he wouldn't do it anymore.
so do I have a
So-
motion?
I make a motion that we deny funding for this
I'll second that.
event.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Moving on to the sponsorship opportunity for the Smoky Mountain Theater. And I do have a question. At the TDC meeting, what was their thoughts on funding and how much?
Those
Did
were
they
their
say
two.
like matching?
The impression I got, we really need to kind of catch up with them, and like I said, they've got a meeting coming up the third Thursday. The impression I kind of walked away with was they were interested in doing a joint sponsorship and looking at, I know the theater had requested between 30 to 50, and it seemed like the consensus from their board and our board at the meeting, and please correct me, was looking at doing 15 from each organization. But I'd like to check with them and see where they're at with their sponsorship.
Yeah, I know in reading the minutes, there was a lot of discussion on that with no clear answer. But at the last meeting,
And I know they had offered us, I'm sorry, Mike, go ahead.
yeah, and what I was thinking is, however, the budget we agreed to, that I saw from Premier Marketing was 30,000 for local festivals. Now, some of that has been massaged, and like I say, I can only read what I saw here. I wasn't here at the meeting, wasn't able to make the meeting.
Did we actually set aside 5, 10, 15 for miscellaneous?
We did,
Yeah.
we did.
Because there were some adjustments made.
The last vote was for to approve 15,000 for other.
Yeah, we approved $25,000 for festivals, digital billboard advertising for $35,000, Facebook for 10, Google AdWords for 15, and another 15 for other expenses.
Okay. They could adjust it.
She took 5, 5, and 5, right?
It's, if you go to June 18th,
No,
meeting
continue.
continued.
It's on here.
Next to the last page of the minutes.
Yeah, that one, I think.
Okay, there.
The
Page 8.
motion is in bold, that was the bottom.
That's what I was looking for.
Were there, the sponsorship opportunity, were there, I know they've been discussed before about different times of the year or whatever, was anything that taken any further, or was it just still?
That was my next, before I didn't mean to interrupt Mike. I remember at the meeting as well, we had looked at, they said seasonal opportunities, but I don't know if it went any further.
Do we need something specific?
They've come 4 times.
Yeah, I think that wasn't the 30 to 50 for a year.
Mhm.
Yeah, we were looking at, because they were coming on an almost regular basis on about quarterly. And that's part of where we got into our financial, we would have had to amend the budget. But the goal was to work with them and not on a
Monthly.
show sponsor or monthly basis, but to do an annual amount.
To sponsor them for the year.
Yeah. And if there's money set aside for that, then I think that's something that we could discuss as to what amount we want to actually expend for that.
And I think that's where the decision, we need to decide to what to push the TDC, that we're willing, the amount that we're willing to match, if they're willing to match.
And that's something, I mean, Mike and I could take back to the TDC at the next meeting and say, we're kind of at a crossroads. We've had our discussion with TDA, where do you guys feel comfortable going? And then at our August, kind of have our consensus then. Are you willing to match, or, because that was the consensus. I don't, the rest of us that were there it seemed like there was a consensus to look at some type of sponsorship, whether it be for a season. It seemed more, they were more interested in doing, like, you could do a fall and a fall lineup or a winter and spring lineup. And I think at one point, like the TDC, you know, if they wanted to do like the spring and summer, and TDA do fall and winter. But that conversation never went out, to my
I
knowledge.
think it's
never
just
went
probably
through.
cleaner to just give them X number of dollars, let them put them wherever they want, you know, going with the TDC.
Yeah, each of us
They
would
can,
write them a check.
right,
and they can
right,
just-
and then they can do whatever season works best for them.
Because I do know they definitely put that heads on beds. I mean,
Yeah.
that is the goal of this organization.
Yeah, they definitely do.
And they're doing it.
We don't,
So,
like, what we buy time. Fall under them.
I will, what I was.
Yeah, it's not, I don't think it's something we actually have to decide today, but we could talk to TDC and see what's, you know, what their thought is.
It's fine to tell the TDC we're willing to do it if they're willing to match it.
And that's where I say we should.
But should we have
that we're willing to.
amount that we take?
I think, I mean, it doesn't mean that we have to disperse it right now, but
Right.
say, well,
Give them an
this is what
idea.
we're willing to do. Are you willing to match it?
Yeah.
And if they're not willing to match it, are we still just gonna fund it? I think we should. I mean,
My concern is if we have an other expense category, spend, you know, just basically wiping that other expense category out by putting it all to one thing.
That's about, and
I don't know.
Yeah, but we could do that later in the season. I mean, it's not something that we have to do immediately.
I kinda like,
Well, we're trying to
Unless you-
come up with
unless you
a
choose.
figure
Well,
to say, hey, TDC, this is what we're willing to.
and this is the reason, I mean, we put them on for 4 months too. I think that we just need to decide what we're willing to do. And if the TDC is not willing to match, then they're not willing to match, but this is what we are gonna do. I mean,
Only thing I guess it doesn't
Yeah.
really depend on where TDC's gonna do. That
because
whole-
we could be going back and forth for months, another 6 months, and no, they're not saying we have to have the funds right now. But are we gonna sponsor them because their year runs on January to December?
maybe
Or
we should
do
pick a season. Maybe what if we, going back to what they said, you know, they were looking at, you know, we would be beneficial if we sponsored a season. What if we said, well, maybe sponsor the spring and summer season? That would kick us time to,
Give them the funds and they dependent on that, you know?
That whole section of the budget was more or less set aside for this specific purpose.
And now, the other question I'd like to throw in here is Facebook and AdWords.
Let's finish this first.
Well, that was a question for me, do we have any more details as to what those are actually gonna cost us, or is that what this board agreed at the last meeting to spend in each of those areas?
That's what we
Yeah,
allotted to
well,
spend.
We're
Those
gonna
areas.
spend that full amount unless we do otherwise,
Okay.
but I don't think we
Depends on the
committed it in stone. We just basically moved to adopt the proposal. The only thing we really committed is the next one about the billboards. I mean, that was sealed.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Facebook and the Google will be spread out over the year, so at any point we wanna stop, we can stop.
Okay.
Now, you know,
It's a guideline. It's a little guideline.
Sure,
No,
we'll
that's
spend a lot
fine,
less
I was
than
just
that.
trying to get my.
Do I
I don't know if we really wanna spend much less than that. Otherwise you're not gonna get the effect.
but yeah, I mean, if we decide if we have money left over at the end of the year, coming into July, we could, you know, pour in a little bit more at the beginning of the summer. But it's, you know, that's, I mean, it'll be budgeted out pretty much. The Facebook will go along with the digital billboard, because we're gonna concentrate that in the same areas that, the Atlanta area that they recommended. So it'll be budgeted and it'll be set up to basically come out at the same time the billboard does. But the Google AdWords, you can cut on and off at any point in time.
Okay. So we still have flexibility.
Way we can move forward with this, I mean, as far as how much.
My
if we
recommendation
want to.
is,
Well, if you're worried about it, then you just, whatever figure you come up with, spread it out over
let's say, let's do
quarter,
spring and summer.
every quarter. Or, you know, it doesn't matter. Just so long as they can budget when it's coming in.
Mhm.
I think if you did do spring and summer, I mean, that was part of, they did suggest maybe doing a seasonal. Because right now, from a financial standpoint, you don't have the money.
Yeah, we've got to work. Well, yes, we do and we don't.
But we
Right.
commit to something like that. as far as the sponsors.
Yes, we could write a check tomorrow.
But do you really, we won't, okay.
Okay, we're not gonna know
Okay.
the business, we're just gonna decide whether or not we're gonna sponsor and how much. And then if you don't mind, December, that was something too, that if, what if we do to let the TDC
I'd be
know or have
glad
a
to.
joint meeting and then say, this is what we decided to do, are you willing to match us and help them out and pick the, these are the 2 seasons we got? Because if not, we're gonna be going month to month to month to month to month, and it's not something we have to commit and pay them $15,000 right now, but we are gonna help them out in our fiscal year this amount.
So,
For
can I suggest the motion might be to?
Yes.
The motion might be to instruct Summer, if she's gonna be the go-between with TDC, to approach them and express the TDA's interest in sponsorship for X number of dollars, and to, you know, gauge their willingness to match, and then report back to the board at the next meeting, would be, I think, the way to do that, motion-wise.
So-
With somebody filling in a dollar amount to that.
so that we need to know.
Okay.
And then the amount.
And what about this season? Maybe we could say we're looking at the spring and summer. Not set in stone, just say this, hey, this is
Split it
what
up
we're
in
looking
2
at.
payments is what you're talking about? Are you talking
Not
about?
even necessarily just putting it off far enough, they'll have the funds to do it. when it falls around.
Okay, so, anything make a motion?
Well, and, I mean, that's the thing, is we do have enough money in the budget, so that if the check is needed now, we can do that without going over the budget.
We can't write a check, we don't actually have the cash in the bank.
Yes, we do. We've got that allocation that we've got in our fund.
We have the money in the bank?
Yes, sir. That we have almost $100,000.
Very large reserve.
We have a large reserve, and that's why I say it's not there is no cash flow problem. We have the cash if we need to make a payment.
In the reserve, though.
In the reserve.
Make that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, we'd have to say that we want to
You'd
draw
have
the
to have
money
the
from the
reserve.
reserve.
So
Yeah,
someone's
because-
motion, we need to determine the amount, and we need to determine what season, if we're gonna do season. And then, that way that motion is set, and in summer, if we would be the liaison between the TDC
You'd like to,
and
yeah.
TDA, and then approach it. That's all we need.
And report back at the August meeting. You'd like to.
Okay, I will make John's motion with the $15,000 number in, because that's what we discussed jointly with the TDC, to see if they will fund equivalency. If they're gonna reduce, then we will report back to let you know what the actual number is that they're gonna do.
So you're saying match whatever they decide, we're not saying.
That would be another
Back up for
decision.
discussion.
That would be another decision. We could bring it up for discussion if we wanted to, if they only
I'm
wanted to.
just clarifying that
Yeah,
I
no.
understood right.
So we're considering 15,000?
15,000.
If they match?
No, I just
No.
were considering.
I just.
I'd say considering 15,000, and we'd say they're considering the
Okay.
15,000.
Yeah.
Because that's a
Okay.
number we discussed at our joint
Right.
meeting.
You will not, with that motion, I don't think you will have committed any funds.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a little more
Maybe-
considerate
No,
there.
you're not writing a check for 15 grand.
In your
Okay,
season.
I second.
Yeah.
Whew, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay, so we'll do that at the next meeting.
Okay, moving on to new business. Discussion on the Facebook and the Google AdWords. Mike, you said you have concern, or do you think all your questions have been answered?
Well, basically, if it's gonna be on a as-use basis, and we can cut it off, then, you know, we've got a lot of flexibility there, so I'm not
And I believe
concerned.
Jessica and them were very clear that any time that we can change those amounts, that's just what they're allocating, holding there.
Yep, no, that's fine, I'm good with that. You
I
know,
have a
it's-
question about Facebook. And I know this is regarding Facebook ads, correct?
Yes.
Who's gonna add me on the Facebook page?
That's what we're going to do next. Well, it's still with this, but we need
So I
to
didn't see
decide
it
that.
on the, I guess this was part of the discussion. It's something that I 'Cause I know Tony did before, but
Right.
Tony Angel Media's not in the.
Premier's willing to do that. For free. If that's what the board wants.
I think if you have a Facebook page, it has to be admin.
Correct.
As long as someone's doing it. It's just not sitting there.
That answered that question.
But now, I want to bring something up, and John, if you would chime in. One thing we need to look at, that was brought to our attention with the Facebook, is we need to look at billing. They brought it to our attention, the only way that they can directly bill is with a credit card. TDA does not have a credit card. We are not getting a credit card. So we need to look at maybe other ways that if we are willing, which we all seem to be the consensus to do the Facebook, we need to find out a legal way we can get that billed to us.
And I would suggest to you, I have a draft memorandum of understanding that would be between the TDA and, let me just distribute it. This is just for your consideration. This is the way that if the way to get this done is to have Premier handle the payment and the TDA pay them back, you need something like this in place. This is the most basic memorandum of understanding I can come up with. It's just about a page. It just reiterates that this is not a contract, and in part that's because we've got some statutory things that we're trying to make clear we're not in violation of. And it allows for direct reimbursement of their costs incurred on behalf of the TDA. It also says no cost without approval of the TDA first, but that's the kind of thing we're talking about. If they're going to handle the billing from Facebook to get paid back by the TDA on a regular basis.
And
So-
invoice us directly.
Exactly. I also know that
Okay.
Janet Anderson is gonna wanna see somebody sign something before she's gonna write a check to anybody, so this.
I think
anyway.
Premier is clear on that, though, on how they're supposed to word it. I think Janice said it straight last year, so.
Yeah.
But that's one part I wanted to bring, that was brought to my attention. We need
Yeah,
to figure
that's
out a way.
fine. That's fine, because they would need a vehicle to be able to reimburse them for the costs that they're expending on our behalf.
So I don't know if I'm on the line, but George, would that be suitable for them?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, really all it says is we're gonna turn the
Right.
seats over to you and you'll pay us back. We're gonna put it on our credit card so you don't have to get one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure.
John, how should the motion for this be? Should it,
I think your motion is just to approve the memorandum of understanding and to authorize Premier Marketing to incur those expenses to be reimbursed by TDA on an as-needed basis.
On that,
So the motion.
Well, I think he's the,
needs to sign?
is the chief.
Mhm.
yeah, he's the clerk, he's as close as we have to a clerk to this board, so that's fine.
Okay. He's signing as a clerk, as opposed to, yeah.
So is that a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, discussion on electronic billboard campaign.
I was just gonna touch a little bit on that. We, due to some time constraints, I think y'all had a chance to look at the two first rounds that went out, advertising the Franklin area, and I was just looking for feedback.
We're gonna try to tie in this Facebook advertising as the billboards went out, so, yeah, I guess that
So it's
would.
gonna look recognition.
Yeah, it was gonna be, I think what they said is, now, October, or right before October, and then in May, is what they recommended.
So as of right now, nobody's done the Facebook stuff yet, because we haven't made them.
Right, we couldn't do anything until for sure.
We can turn on any of this at any point in time, just need to get it approved. The art.
billboards are
Yeah, they're about
approved enough.
I mean,
Okay. Discussion on website hosting for TDA websites.
okay, I'll introduce this. This is an issue that's come up. Of course, in previous, Tony Angel did host the Discover Franklin NC and Shop and Dine Franklin NC. Now, as of June 30th, his contract ended. However, he has graciously been kind and still hosting that for us. We need to look at if we want, you know, hosting opportunities. There's Tony Angel Media, DNet, and the only other one I'm aware of is Smoky Mountain Systems. And this is just something the board needs to get a handle on, because until we can get a host, your Facebook and admin is set still.
Hosting the website is completely different than actually
Yeah.
managing the website.
Which
Our options are.
And there may be others. Those are the only three that I'm aware of. So I don't want to, if there is someone, please come forward. This-
My suggestion would be get bids. And go with cheapest bid. Because we need to go ahead and get it done.
What's
We've
the-
got to do something.
The Shop and Dine, I'm not actually familiar with that one, if that one is.
It's a sister website. And that's something we need to consider. Do you
Is it
guys?
redundant? Like,
Between now, please look at it. I mean, you have Discover Franklin and Shop and Dine, and it's like you said, it may be redundant. You may be driving people to two different websites when you really want to drive them to one.
It's a landing page
Yeah.
website, I believe, as far as that goes. I mean, it depends on your stance on landing page website. Some people truly believe in it, some people don't. I'm no expert on it. I just know there's separate websites out
They
there.
exist.
Look at it.
Um,
I agree, we should get bids, at least see how much. I don't know, the
Well,
date.
we'll approach those
I mean, they may be all
unless you know more.
similar.
I make a move, I make a motion that we take bids on transferring the hosting and go with the cheapest bid as long as they're comparable and they're capable of doing it.
And maybe starting now through August, our August 12th meeting, accept bids.
No, I'd go ahead and get bids this week and do it next week. That's what I'm saying, get bids and go ahead and do it.
And just go with the cheapest one.
So his motion will be to get the bids, and then whichever one is cheapest, if they're capable, we just move forward with it.
Let
We
me
don't
ask
have
you
to come
one
back.
thing, Josh, you mentioned Premier would do it for free. Are they gonna submit a bid, to your knowledge?
Well, as far as the hosting for the website, I don't know, I would have to look at that. It depends on cost, but I can find that out. Premier can put in a bid for that too.
Okay, if they did, again, we're gonna have some fancy stepping to do to make sure that we don't run into any kind of problem with you know, a conflict of interest accusation, so.
why don't we just, I mean, there's plenty of options, you know, why don't we just keep Premier out of it?
So it might be easy.
I think Tony may be willing. If the board,
Tony, you got Tony, what do we have?
Tony's smoking
I mean, is this not what GoDaddy and all these guys do? I mean,
Well, having said what I just said, I don't have any concern with a motion that says you, Summer, take bids and get us started with whoever's the cheapest option, especially since this, like your other Facebook and the Google AdWords
It's
stuff,
different.
is not a, you know, you can shut that on or off. It's not, you're not gonna get into a long-term anything with somebody for that. I don't have any problem with it, as long as we know we're not gonna run into the
Could
same.
Premier Marketing making a suggestion? I mean, is that,
Could what?
make a suggestion on
Oh,
these
just
5
like-
resources to consider?
Yeah,
or
I can get them to help you get bids.
I don't follow.
You just say, have Premier solicit the bids
Since
for the
Premier's
website.
doing our marketing, like.
Why don't we
Right.
solicit, I mean, that's the cleaner.
I mean, do you feel like you can solicit the bids enough? I mean,
And that's probably what they do best,
Call
though.
to do job.
It's not that, it's not complicated, really.
Well, we named three.
I mean, if you don't mind doing it, I mean, if otherwise.
I don't know of any more, that's where I'm, and I'd definitely like to keep something local.
Do you know how, do you know, George?
I mean, there's tons of web hosting sites out there, and that's,
But I don't
Something
know,
local.
I feel more
Yeah.
comfortable
Yeah, but-
doing something local, because if they do something to the website, we can walk down the street and say, hey, what are you doing, instead of
Right.
Arizona saying, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
no, I mean, we want to keep it Franklin. So Franklin business
So make a
would
motion
be
to approach those three.
Franklin business.
I make a motion that you give bids, and we go with whoever's the cheapest, and we do it as quickly as possible. If you need help, you're more than welcome to call me.
Fair enough, now I can.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah,
Any opposed? Okay. Any items from the board?
one comment.
Just lame.
Just,
Come on, like-
if I remember the newspaper ad about the Ruby Bash rally last year, not the newspaper ad, but the report that appeared in the paper, I think they had 32 motorcycles at their poker run. And I believe that was the number in the paper. Now, Travis could probably.
I wasn't there then.
I
I was hanging out with
the
y'all.
archives.
Do we
but-
want to close?
450 was the number.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I had one thing. Just looking at the billboard campaign, "Make Mountain Memories" was the tagline. I'm concerned about that because where Franklin Discover Us has kind of been the tagline, and this just kind of leads me to Franklin in general. And this is my personal opinion: is we've got the TDA, the TDC, the Chamber of Commerce, the Main Street Program.
EDC.
And until we find some sort of cohesive synergy as far as our marketing goes, it's kind of confusing.
I
That's
don't
all
know
I'll
that
say.
I've seen any marketing material. Have you seen any marketing material? Like what's going on with the awards or anything?
We all got emailed a copy of that.
You should, yeah, I was like, what?
I mean,
Be glad.
the main copy on it was visit franklinnc.com, I believe.
It
was
had the
largest
website.
largest thing, and
Discover-
then there's just a small tag.
DiscoverFranklinNC.com, and then it said underneath it said "Make Mountain Memories," which was it's not that "Make Mountain Memories" is a bad tagline. It's just kind of like out of left field. I don't know.
I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
But then those are up, right?
Those are up.
And not to butt in again, but I did work with Summer some on this, on the notion that Premier said, we gotta have a decision, because they are asking for this now.
Yep.
And
Well, I
Summer
made
asked
the
me-
decision to go ahead,
Right,
so.
and she asked, what, do I have to call a meeting to get this to happen? I don't think you all wanna have to come to a called meeting every time,
No.
as often as these things are gonna change, it sounds like, to have to come to a consensus. But that's why it wound up on the agenda, this is the time for you to say,
Well, right. I mean,
Well, I
I've
don't
been saying
want
it
it
for
to
a
say-
while for Franklin in general, but
Right.
I think that should be one of our sole focuses. I know we
Well, it's in Atlanta, I don't think we have too many mountains that are close besides us, and it says visit Franklin and see, I don't see what was wrong with that, because it's drawing people here.
and that's
Whether
fine.
it's linked to
I said that
50.
it's not necessarily a bad tag.
I think Premier
You know,
offered
That's my
theirs to
opinion.
keep a.
Are you suggesting
tag
anything
in.
else, or not?
No, I'm just saying,
necessarily?
let's pick one and go with it,
I
basically,
think that's
you know what I mean?
what we did.
And what's been, you're saying something
So
different than
now,
what's already up?
now DiscoverFranklinNC.com from here forward is gonna be Make Mountain Memories.
What is it now? Is it?
It's been Discover
We had
Us,
TDA
Okay.
on the billboard.
All right.
which, whether
Tom
that's a good one or a bad one,
Right.
it's what's been out
You're
there.
just saying pick one.
Right. I
do you
mean,
think somebody from who's designing these from Premier might could come talk to the board at the next meeting? I think that's the way to do it, is have some, whoever's gonna design
And
these
then-
things in the future, come get your input about.
And
what
that's
it's
how
gonna
it
be.
will work. at the next October, I mean, they'll probably come this September and show, because from what Jessica said, I mean, they're really efficient in the way this was just kind of a time crunch situation.
We probably want to address this before October if we're gonna.
Yeah, they can come to the next meeting and
Yeah, I mean, that's,
it's okay to plan
And I guess
all
another,
of you a good chance to say, look, I don't like this, I like that.
I was just making a point, not that I don't like Make Mountain Memories, it's, is it this, is it that, is it gonna be something every time we change, is it gonna be a different
Well,
slogan?
that's what I was trying to talk, but I obviously couldn't talk, so it's, in the meeting that we had with Jessica, them making memories, mountain memories was something that's the tagline that we're gonna use for most all the billboards, am I wrong? The same kind of look with different pictures, and it's supposed to, that's what's gonna fall on the Facebook page, the website. It all kind of falls all in.
as of right now, that's their recommendation, is
Yes.
what they feel is the best message.
Forgive me if I overlooked that. That's just, I didn't recall it.
Forgive me.
Do we need to also, before we get the bids for the hosting, do we need to make any decision on whether we're keeping the shop and dine?
It's gotta be looked at, I think.
I mean, somebody would need to
Now,
convince
I
me
don't
that
know.
it's necessary, I guess. There's no sense
Oh.
in signing it, because you usually have to do a year-long contract on those, if I'm not
From-
mistaken.
Prior, I think that was something that Tony had, and he was just willing to use that along with our website. I don't think it was anything that we, I mean, it was just an extra amenity that he gave us. For consistency, I think we should stick to one. It's just my
Yeah.
recommendation,
I
and
would
leave it at that.
agree. Yeah, I would suggest that, and then that other one could be folded into the main one, if it is truly separate. I
It
look
is.
for this shop and dine.
Franklin and Sue.
Because I believe they used those billboards when we didn't have something good shop local, when they used that
Right.
website, when we did that. But it was just an extra amenity that he gave us. So, but if we want to be consistent, I think we need to stick to one website and not try to do a bunch.
Content can be put on
Yeah, Discover
And that's what the,
Us is the tagline. The town decided on.
I think this is a glaring issue. This is me, I guess.
To one.
What's a glaring issue?
Just having two different phrases. But if that's what we're going with, if that was a recommendation going forward, then the make mountain memories. And that's the direction that we're going.
We'll have Jessica come to the next meeting.
On a whole separate issue, I think that the website is, I think the TDA and the TDC and the chamber should all support the same thing.
That's what I tried to say. We've got all these things going on.
We've got like 3 different websites. We're all pouring money into them. We're all pouring the same monies into one website. It'll be a lot more successful.
Thank you.
But
We can't get that figured out here
Just
tonight.
on my behalf, we
That's-
went with
I just wanted to
something
voice that.
quick and felt like it was the best thing to do.
Yeah.
And you had plenty of time to say yea or nay, and nobody said nay, so we went yay.
yeah.
Any other items from the board? Do I have a second to Josh's motion?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
As Joe Collins, the Honorable Joe Collins would say, vote with your feet. Support the motion, get up and leave.
How was Saturday night?
I'm out of here.
See ya. See you there.